Welcome one and all to Umami Manga. I am one of your hosts, Petter, and with me I got my co-host, James.
Hello!
And today we're talking about volume 13 of To Your Eternity. We're moving into the new age, the first book that I hadn't read when we started this podcast. And oh boy, I'm super excited to get into this discussion because, I don't know, I guess without saying anything, I'll just say that I really, really liked it. What did you think of this one?
I only have one thing to say, and that's Petter,
Hmm?
be my friend.
I wish I knew how Fushi ends up responding to that so I could give you that same
I
response.
know. Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah, oh my god, yes. Well, without further ado, let's start by talking about Fushi. He did indeed continue to spread himself out, all the way until present day. And he woke up right as this book began, pretty much, when we were in the modern age. And the knockers are by now presumably all wiped out.
Yeah, I
Which
guess so.
I don't think we had really expected that. I guess we can't know for sure, but at least that's how it seems to be. Or at least Fushi seems to think that way. And I guess we got to take his word for it, right?
I mean, even the Beholder seems to imply that the danger is just not there anymore, potentially. Although,
Yeah.
I mean,
I guess we can't trust him.
He would know. He would know,
truly.
but yeah, we can't trust him completely, I guess.
But still, yeah, things are looking up, especially at the beginning of this book.
Mm-hmm.
And like Fushi's adventures from the past have become legends in present day and all that.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool, and how when Fushi does come back into the world, he wakes up and he sees it with his own eyes for the first time. He sends all of his friends out into the world and like back to their homelands, which
Yeah, that's hilarious.
probably a bad idea, but hey, it worked out in the end. But it was
Remember, Fushi is stupid.
yeah, he is. He really is. But yeah, I just don't get that like thought process. Like, wouldn't you want to meet them right away? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's almost taking his, you know, his selflessness a little too far. You know,
I guess.
like, oh, I'm gonna think about what they want. It's like, bruh, like they lived their whole lives, like years ago. They want to be with you,
right.
anyway.
Exactly.
Well, I guess touching on that, the very beginning mentions that Fushi's dream is to meet many people, feel many things, and celebrate peace.
Right.
So it's nice. I mean, it's kind of a poetic way of saying that his dream was to have everybody's dreams come true. But I like this kind of a list of things, and it goes to show that he's kind of been doing that throughout his whole life. Except for living in peace or celebrating peace. He hasn't really had that chance until,
Right.
I guess, now. So that's nice that, in a way, he's potentially starting to live that dream.
Absolutely. And honestly, I feel, those dreams, to meet many people, feel many things, and celebrate peace. I feel like the first two ones are pretty much straight up adapted from the boys' dreams, right?
Yeah.
Which
I think so, yeah.
which makes sense, and I like that because and those have been with him ever since then. But the dream about celebrate peace, I feel like that's more his own goal that he sort of established in volume 12, as kind of a means to fulfill all of his friends' dreams.
Indeed.
But yeah, it is nice to see that and how that's become his dream, and yeah, right now he seems to be living it. Well, sort of, at least. I guess we'll see what comes of that final scene, but
Well, we'll see. That's definitely what's being set up, or that's how it's starting out as.
yeah.
That's how it is. And I like the line at the very beginning of the volume, just right after that list where it says, "We are living in the world someone once wished for," or something along those lines. And just to think about it in reality, I mean, because in the context of the story, the world that the modern day world is what Fushi, at least that's what he thinks, is what he wanted. What these Fushi and his people wanted,
Yeah.
um, a peaceful time.
Mm.
And so you think about it in our own world. Yeah, we have so much, strife and other terrible things that are going around in the world. But in a lot of ways, there's peace in some aspects.
Mm.
People are more united internationally than I'd say ever before. Maybe I am blissfully unaware, but I think more so than it has been in the past. I mean, there's maybe a little more peace.
Yeah.
I just think that was an interesting way of putting it. Just made me think about our own world.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And very early on, also in this book, Fushi was pretty much given this new or additional power by the beholder to reconnect to other things that he has created before.
Yeah,
So yeah, that was really nice of the beholder to do that, and definitely helped Fushi live freer and to enjoy himself
for sure.
in this new age.
I mean, it's gonna be incredibly useful, as we've already seen, just be able to go wherever, do wherever, and not be chained down by
Absolutely, yeah.
that rope.
It is funny how like those ropes really have become. I mean, ever since like the Renreal arc, pretty much they started to become or to serve that sort of purpose. But the ropes have always been part of the boy's appearance ever since the first chapter. So I think that's a pretty like cool way how Oima has worked that into sort of the gimmick of Fushi, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah. But one of the funnier parts of this book, I thought, was like the first thing that happens once Fushi got into like the big city was he got hit by a truck, and like I don't know, it was just funny because obviously seeing Fushi get hit by a truck isn't the same thing as like any other character because we know he'll be fine, like no sweat. So it became a very comedic thing for me. But also I guess on that scene there was that one guy who took Fushi to the hospital, and he seemed like a really nice guy. But he uploaded a video of Fushi to the internet, and I'm guessing it was a video of Fushi getting hit by that truck.
oh, it's got to be. Well, it's got to be that whole thing.
Right, and we don't really know. We didn't get to see anything more after that. But I guess I have a suspicion that maybe that'll become a problem later. Maybe like if Fushi's regenerative abilities comes into the open and becomes public knowledge, because at this point, like in this age, if he becomes known to anyone, he'll become known to everyone. Like it's not as it was in the old days, like back in like the medieval inspired times.
I actually don't think it'll be an issue yet. At least that video won't be the cause of it. I don't think, because when this is just my understanding. When Fushi and I think it was Aiko
Mm.
were looking at videos of Bon and them,
Yeah.
no, people weren't really sure who they were, and no one had connected into Fushi, and even the Bon organization hadn't found Fushi yet,
Right. Yeah.
despite the fact that that video was definitely up online. So I don't
True.
know.
True.
I think that I don't know why people aren't freaking out about it. Right?
People should, right? Like
They
realistically,
really
I feel like they
should,
should.
but it just seems like everyone's just kind of like, well, that's kind of cool. Oh, that's kind of freaky. Wow, this world is really strange, isn't it? Kind of. I mean, kind of how they dealt with the whole, all of Fushi's followers, friends, come, just appearing out of nowhere.
True.
Um,
Yeah,
so yeah.
but it's I feel like Fushi's video is especially strange. Like the other ones are strange too. Like don't get me wrong, they're very strange. Like for people to appear inside of coffins and museums and stuff like that, like that is absolutely strange. But Fushi getting hit by a truck like straight on, and to be perfectly fine afterward, even being examined by a doctor and being declared to be perfectly fine, is like I don't know. I don't know. I'm probably thinking too much into this. I guess I'll let it go for now.
Hey, maybe you're right. I don't know.
I guess we'll see. Only time will tell. But poor Fushi came to give March boba tea but only to see that she was having like even more luxurious boba tea with like her new family. Like, I felt so sorry for Fuji in that moment because like he had really like put an effort into like treat March to something good, and like he had put thought into it, and like he wanted to surprise her, and then he saw that. Like, no.
It
Oh.
was, I mean, yeah, I felt bad for Fushi, but also
Mm.
it just it felt odd that he would be so sad about it. I don't know. I guess
Really?
yeah, just because well, odd to got like it made sense for older Fushi because it kind of reminded me of how he reacted to Bjorn in a way when she was all alone
Mm.
and was deciding if he should leave her or not. It kind of reminded me of that,
Ah, fair, fair.
but I would just think that he would have gotten to a point where something like that wouldn't shake him.
Well,
Um,
I mean,
but
yeah.
obviously it did. Obviously it
Right,
did.
right. Yeah, and of course it turned out to be fine in the end. March wasn't,
Uh huh.
she hadn't forgotten about him or anything like that. So it ultimately was fine. But at least in the moment, I definitely felt a bit sorry for him.
I mean, it was necessary for him to end up where he did in on Yuki's line.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and speaking of Yuki, I thought it was really nice how, after they met for the first time, Fushi turned into Shin to carry Yuki home on his back, because Shin, like just like Shin used to carry Gugu on his back. I thought that was a really nice little touch.
That's a good catch. Yeah. Actually, real quick, speaking of Shin and well, actually, I don't know.
Hmm?
I just wanted to mention like that. It seems like Boozman's tower was still around.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. Right. But when Gugu came back, he saw. I can only assume it was a descendant of Shin.
Yeah,
Right there. Like that was a really nice little
it was.
cameo reference. What, I don't know what you want to call it. Cameo is wrong, but
Hmm.
yeah, little thing anyway.
So you mentioned Shin, and we had passed that part in the story. So I was like, oh, I wonder if I should bring it up now. I don't
Right.
know.
I mean, yeah, that's perfectly fine. Wherever the conversation flows. And I guess what on the topic of Fushi turning into other things, I thought it was really funny and smart for Fushi to turn into Mir, well, Rin's dog, when asking for a favor. Like to like how can they resist that little dog asking for the rest of his friends to come live with them?
Right.
Very, very clever.
And then they asked Fushi to come, or to stay with them, like after he's eaten meals. Like, well, if you insist.
Right. Yeah. It was so funny to see how he really embraced the dog mentality sort of at the start
Yeah, he
when he
did.
was living there. It was really fun to see, like, he really enjoyed being petted and all the dog attention that he was getting. He was so into it.
So, a pufferfish Fushi was adorable, and how the pufferfish made that shape in the sand. There's a species of pufferfish that does that. So I thought it was really
Oh.
funny
Oh, really?
that yeah, you should look it up. They
Oh,
like make beautiful art in the sand.
wow.
Um, yeah, I
Wow.
don't I guess it was just like instinct that came into Fushi. He's like, I don't why did I do this? Hey, look what I
Right.
did.
That's so
I don't know.
cool. Too bad that other pufferfish wasn't impressed.
Yeah, apparently not. He's like, I've seen better.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, I thought it was adorable, and
Yeah, yeah.
I guess just overall, I was thinking about where this next arc is going to go with everything, and I won't go into detail with characters, but I I was wondering, would the theme be is peace really possible,
Yeah.
or at least in terms of sure they got rid of the knockers, but can humans still be at peace, or is it that the peace that Fushi and his friends wanted was not necessarily having no human strife or conflict, but not having the knockers there and trying to take lives in that sense. Maybe that's the piece they wanted. I don't know. I mean, obviously that
Yeah.
wouldn't be the main theme, but it could be just a part of it.
Right. No, no, I could absolutely see it going that way. And I mean, I also sort of had those, well, that curiosity sort of while reading this book was because Fushi seems so sure that, or he seems pretty sure that now that the knockers are gone, like everything should be great.
Right.
Obviously, at least not going too much into detail yet, but obviously seeing Mizuha's situation, we know that at least there things are not ideal whatsoever. And surely she's not the only person with a less than ideal life, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's just, you know, life just is, you know, that's just how life is, I guess, you
Right.
know. So yeah.
Yeah, and they mention, or I think it's Yuki who asks, "Hey, what are you guys gonna do now? Are you gonna stop some secret organization or evil criminal organization or something like that?" It's like
Mm.
and Tonai's like, "I guess. I mean, we could if it happens." Like,
Right.
they don't like what is their purpose right now? What is Fushi and their purpose other than I guess just enjoying their life that they have?
Fulfilling their
Um,
dreams.
yeah, yeah, true. Fulfilling their dreams. I guess that is their purpose. But for the story context, like, isn't that kind
Mm.
of boring? You know, I mean, slice of life. Okay, that's fine. But I don't know. It doesn't seem like this story would go in just a peaceful slice of life direction.
Right. Yeah, I
I
mean, obviously, yeah, something's gonna, like, some shit's gonna go
I
down.
would think, but who knows? Maybe it'll just be some sort of drama thing. Although the ending of this volume has
Exactly.
me thinking otherwise.
Right? Yeah, so yeah, it'll be really exciting to read on. But yeah, like definitely I agree with you that there's good reason to suspect things will, like, things won't be as calm and peaceful as the majority of this volume was.
That's all I got on Fushi.
All right, then let's move on to Mizuha. She has the talent to become very good really quickly at pretty much whatever she practices.
Yeah,
Not, I mean, I guess that's probably something Hayase herself had as well. I imagine, based on
I guess
how,
so.
you know, adept she was at least, you know, combat. As we saw, she was pretty much
Mm-hmm.
unmatched in that, and Kahaku as well was better than anyone when it came to combat, which I guess was what their training had been mostly. So I guess it's something in their bloodline, you know. They have an easy time getting good at whatever they want to do.
Genetics.
Yeah. Yep.
It's
Uh,
genetics, honey.
it, yeah.
I think what's interesting about her is you don't find this out until later in the volume, but she absolutely understands or feels that she's perfect
Mm,
and wants to be kind of treated that way, or and expects that of herself, almost in a egotistical way. So, which I feel like in these kind of stories, usually if the person is perfect, they try to say, oh, I don't want to be perfect in a way. I want to be like the other people, the other imperfect people or something like that, something cheesy like that.
yeah,
And there
yeah.
is a bit of that in here,
Mm,
but it's also at the same time she's still striving for perfection, and
yeah,
she wants to keep her perfection for eternity in a way.
yeah. Yeah, and it's really sad because she was raised, you know, that way. Everyone around
True.
her throughout her upbringing told her how perfect she was, and I mean, she
Mm-hmm.
was surely in a lot of ways she had an easier time doing things than other kids her age. So I guess it wasn't unwarranted completely, but still being kind of constantly told by every adult, especially probably around her, but also probably kids her age to some extent as well, being told that and being treated as she is, like she's super popular with the boys, even still, you know, uh, and like all that kind of praise that she has been getting throughout
Mm-hmm.
her entire life, even now, it definitely would affect you, I think, in that kind of way.
Yeah.
But also, obviously, like as a side effect, you know, she's not particularly liked by the girls in the school,
Mm-hmm.
or most of them anyway.
Yeah. See that's another one of those kind of stereotypes where the perfect girl who all the boys like, all the
Mm.
girls hate,
Yeah.
but she just wants to have an actual friend kind of a thing. But this is a different take on that. I feel like
Mm, mm.
at
Oh,
least
yeah.
at least based on how her attitude is.
I think so too. Yeah. There is something special about it. Plus, also like having read the 12 volumes that came before this, I feel like also knowing about the history of her ancestors
Hmm.
also sort of adds to her well to her character in some sense. At least, to me it makes it more interesting knowing kind of what came before her, I suppose. And she has that itch in her left arm, which worries me a bit because I'm like,
Concerning. It's
yeah,
concerning
very concerning.
because it doesn't happen just once, twice. I
Yes.
think. I don't think it's 3 times. At least
No.
twice.
Yeah, like there was the one time she pointed it out, and then there was one point later on when she just kind of we could just see her kind of itch it, right?
And that was near when she was. That was when she was near Fushi.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Mm.
I mean that itch is can't just be. At least I don't think a reference or an Easter egg.
Yeah.
There's got to be something there, and maybe it's just her bloodline itching up or something. Maybe that's the only thing. But
Maybe. But the fact that it's her left arm, which was specifically
right,
the arm that both Hayase and every descendant of her that had that knocker, like it was always the left arm.
the problem is Fushi gives it a pass,
Yeah.
and because he looks at the arm himself, and
Mm.
I'm sure he would have been able to sense if the knocker was there, right? So why is that? It got me thinking, and I wondered. One, I think for sure she's got to be Kahaku's descendant, right? Well, I guess I can't say for sure, but I really think that's the case. It's got to be
I hope
Kahaku.
so. As I said last week, I hope so. But it's hard to say for sure.
Hmm. So this is kind of gruesome, but what if the knocker was also able to pass itself to Kahaku's offspring? Um, I don't know if genetically or
Hmm.
just a strand somehow. I don't know.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's a little gruesome to think about, a little weird as well. But
I mean, I kind of like it though.
you know, and it just remained in the body for generations,
Hmm.
uh, undetected because it merged with the human body. Because we see that knocker, same knocker, able to produce some of the bodies that Fushi could produce in ways that look like the flesh and not plant-like. At least from what I could tell.
Right. At least the boys form. Like I'm
Definitely the
not so
boys
sure about the
form.
others, but at least the boys form, which yeah, like as
Right.
we talked about last time, definitely was something we had never seen before.
And at the time, I thought maybe it was echo related, but now I'm thinking maybe that's not the case. Maybe the knocker has evolved in some case and is just hiding from Fushi within the human body, and maybe the knockers have planted themselves within human bodies in that sense, which I don't know how or why, and,
Hmm.
and hopefully it'll be explained. But
Right. Right.
because otherwise it'd be, I mean, yeah, you have peace, but that whole enemy is just gone from the story.
Right. For sure. It's really really interesting, and I'm really excited to see if and how that itch is going to affect the story.
One last thing I'll say about the itch is,
Uh huh.
remember my Hayase knocker theory thing. I'm not saying this could be, this is definitely what it is, but just an observation. It's like maybe because Hayase's Phi is within her, um, that's where it's kept, was in the left arm where the knocker was. I don't know why. Well, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if that was the only way they could reincarnate Hayase's Phi was to put it inside the knocker,
Oh.
then if Mizuha is the reincarnation of Hayase's Phi, then maybe that's what she's feeling in her arm. Um,
Right.
but then why? But then how? If it had to be through a knocker, then it shouldn't exist at all, right? So anyway,
Huh.
I'm trying my best here. Okay.
Right. Speaking of Hayase's Phi, I definitely think that like regardless of whether the knocker is there or not, I at least think that Hayase's Fi is still around. I think
Yeah,
Mizuha does carry Hayase's old Fi.
I agree.
Like definitely at least that, because she sort of instinctively wants Fushi, just
Hmm.
in the same way that all of Hayase's descendants who have inherited her Fi have felt.
Yeah,
So that's at least something like I can say pretty safely, I think.
yeah, yeah. I totally agree with that. Anyway, I like you. I hope it's touched on, and I mean, maybe she'll never come back to it, and it was just some thing. But I really want to see how it could tie in, and I think it could be interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is super interesting. Yeah, and about her mother, very hard on her, giving her very little freedom, pushing her to do things that she doesn't necessarily want to do. And she doesn't even really seem to keep track of her daughter's life, I felt. Like she wasn't aware of like what her daughter had really done in the past. Like, oh, I didn't know you had played piano and flute. Like, I guess, like, it's just like she doesn't seem invested in her daughter's life, as I think a mother should. And and all she seems to care about is like her own image, sort of, and her like she just cares about her daughter winning prizes and shit. Like,
Right.
and then the face that she gave Mizuha when Mizuha asked, like, when she said that she wants to take a break, was also something I hated so much. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it showed it showed disappointment.
Hmm.
She seemed disappointed in her daughter. Like how or sort of, how dare you
Yeah.
want to take a break right now? It's like, which is absolutely terrible and unacceptable. Not only for her to feel that way and to think that way about her daughter, but also, like, on top of that, also to show it in such a way, is so so unforgivable, I think.
Obviously, yeah, this is terrible parenting. She would be in the running for worst parent of the year award. I feel like,
Uh-huh.
uh, you know, and she's living vicariously through her child. Um,
Mm.
the trophies and posting on social media.
Yeah.
Um, I just obviously wasn't liking her very much and felt that she was really the cause for a lot of Mizuha's, I guess, issues. Yeah, and
Yeah. Oh yeah.
even when she tried to make amends with Mizuha, I didn't quite trust her. Like that whole
Uh-huh.
scene with, oh, I lost the feather. Oh, here, have this trinket. At that
Right.
moment, I was like, okay,
Ah.
yeah, I guess trinket, sure. I didn't think it'd be bought from the store, which just made it 10
Mm.
times more ridiculous.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I definitely thought that she took the feather.
Mm.
You
Mm.
know,
For sure.
it just, she was in the bathroom. She grabbed her clothes. She probably took the feather, and yeah, and bought the trinket to win over her daughter.
Yeah.
It's very sketchy.
It's yeah. Oh, dude, totally. It's manipulative. I think, like, for her
Yeah,
to lie to her daughter in such a way, tell her that, well, too bad you lost your feather hair tie, but here, take this. I used to wear this in elementary school. It was my favorite. Like, to build it up and make it into such a, well, she makes it into a thing about herself in a very selfish way, while at the same time lying to her daughter and making it seem far better than it really is. And obviously, with
yeah.
the reveal later on that it was just something she had bought cheap from a local store in town. Like, oh,
Hmm.
that,
And,
oh.
and honestly, it's not so much. And I'm just kind of just saying this just for discussion purposes. It's
Uh-huh.
not so much that it's a cheap trinket. That's the issue. If she had said, "Hey, I found this. I thought it looked pretty. I bought it recently.
Right,
What do
right.
you think?" If she had said that, it wouldn't be as bad as her saying, "Oh, I had this ever since I was a child in hopes I'd have a perfect little daughter like you."
For
You
sure.
know
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
like you said, is manipulative, and that just makes it 10 times worse. On top of the fact that there's no way she did not steal that feather.
Exactly, for sure. Yeah. That I like yeah, and as you said, like, that was obvious from the start, and obviously we understood later on, with the new hair tie as well, but
Yeah.
yeah, terrible. So yeah, it's really not strange at all that Mizuha feels so miserable with a mother like that. Um and obviously I feel like largely because of her mother, or at least the way that she's being raised, which is at least, largely by her mother. I'm surely her dad is there too, but we didn't see him as much in this book.
Didn't see him much. Yeah.
No, but like for her to, I think largely because of her mother's behavior, be contemplating suicide the way she does is obviously super super sad.
It really is. I don't know if it's a bait and switch in this case, but she definitely had those suicidal thoughts. She was contemplating that kind of stuff, and for anybody, that's not a good position to be in,
Yeah.
and that's definitely when you need help.
Yep.
And clearly, it went in a different direction because I think that chapter before. Uh, the chapter was called Mizuha. I forget the number, but
It was the last chapter of this book anyway.
yeah, the last chapter of the book, the mother walks into the room, and honestly, the way it made it seem, it felt like something bad, and like Mizuha was gonna do something terrible to herself, was going to happen. I felt like, but instead, it went a different direction.
Yeah.
So that's why I say bait and switch, but I still think her emotions and what she's going through is very understandable and real.
Right. I mean, it's a really sad situation because it's partially her mother is making her life miserable. That's like a big part of her depression. I think anyway, and
Yeah.
it's both directly and indirectly. It's like directly in the sense that we see sort of in the first scene with her mother, where we get to understand just how much pressure she puts on her, and like every day of her life she puts this pressure on her and restricts her in so many ways. So that's like in a direct way, and also like more indirectly with the way she has been raised from the start, which has, as we learned in that last chapter, the one called Mizuha, last chapter of this book, how her mindset has become somewhat like she well, because of the way that she thinks of herself as being so perfect and
Right.
and all of that, she wants to preserve that perfection by dying young.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, and I think she said like she thinks she will die by the age of 17 or so. We don't know her age here, but I'm guessing maybe 15 ish.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, obviously she's very, she, as you said, she needs help, and she needs people that, that she can trust, and that support her. And I mean, hopefully she will find that in the occult research club. I think optimistically that's what will happen. And yeah, but obviously right now things are looking very dull.
For sure. I actually want to, before we move on, I want to go back and touch on a couple more uh, people dealing with Misaha.
Hmm.
Um, so her mom obviously has issues with her father, or the grandpa, Misaha's grandpa,
Yeah.
and I wonder why. Why is that? Why is their relationship
Oh yeah.
on the rocks? Maybe it
Right.
was just his radical religious views, and the mom didn't want any part of that. Like that's
Could be.
not weird. That happens quite often.
Hmm.
But and here's kind of crackpot theory time. Uh, maybe the grandpa killed his wife,
Oh.
Misaha's grandma, when the grandma, asked the grandpa to do it in order to pass Hayase's Phi to
Oh.
Misaha's mother's womb.
Oh my. That is a
I don't know,
crackpot
man.
theory.
I
I
don't know,
like it
man.
though.
But that's how the Hayase Phi is passed on. And not necessarily like people die, or people kill each other, but
Mm.
in order for the Phi to continue, the holder dies, and then it goes into the womb of their child
Mm.
when they are about to have a grandchild. So
Mm.
I don't know. Obviously the grandma had to die in order for Hayase's will to continue in Mizuha, correct?
I would assume so, yeah. Or
Yeah.
and I mean, I guess I mean I don't know what happens if the grandparent of the holder doesn't die before that person is born or conceived or whatever. But I guess what I think is maybe if they do live longer, then maybe it will skip 2 generations instead of just one, perhaps.
Well, yeah, it would. Yeah, you're right. It would skip a generation, but I don't know. I just think why would the mother be so against something like that?
Right. I mean, that
Um,
would be really interesting. I mean, something like that. I mean, and actually, I like the idea of thinking like about this because I think Oima is usually really good at making us understand even the people or even the characters that she writes that are or that seem really unsympathetic and like bad people. She's
mhm.
usually really good at finding ways for us to at least not necessarily sympathize with them, but at least understand them, and in some cases even sympathize with them and sort of yeah really like them. Um, the mother, I'm not going to go into details, but the mother character of Shoko, the female protagonist of A Silent Voice,
Right.
her mother is initially in the story portrayed in a very bad light, but especially in the manga, and I'm not going to go into detail, but it actually it's not conveyed as well in the movie, sadly, because they had to cut out various things. But in the manga, especially, you really understand her much better. Like further in you get into the story, and you understand that she is not a bad person. She has her own struggles and her her own issues, and it sort of while I don't love her, I definitely don't hate her as much as I maybe did and like near like close to the beginning of that story. So something
Right.
like that perhaps could be interesting, even though she's dead now. Maybe we will still learn
She
more.
can't really comment on it.
But
um,
yeah. Okay, I think Oima's really good at that. So.
maybe the mom left her Phi there for some reason, and Bone will be able to talk to, or Fushi
Oh
or
yeah.
somebody will
Oh
be able to talk to her.
yeah, dude. I
But
mean,
only if she still chills around, like.
for sure. Yeah. Right.
But
Exactly.
she probably has regrets.
It's. I mean, absolutely. And yeah, that's a really good possibility. That it totally slipped my mind. But yeah, yeah, potentially.
But but I guess that just to end, I think Mizuha's mom might have been protecting Mizuha from the Guardians
Mm.
potentially. But
Yeah.
but but it definitely turned into a trophy unhealthy thing as well.
Right. Like
Completely.
regardless, exactly. Regardless, it wasn't like she didn't treat her right. But
Yeah.
yeah. There absolutely may have been some good in there or some effort. But anyway, yeah.
So so speaking of her death,
Yeah.
do you think Mizuha killed her?
Yes.
You do. Oh,
Yes, yes,
okay.
I have given this thought, and
Uh-huh.
at least right now, yes,
Okay.
I do think she did.
Okay.
I mean, as we talked about, like she realized when she was at the store, she found that same hair tie there, and she understood in that moment that her mother had been lying to her,
Mhm.
and then this was right when Mizuha was starting to feel good, or at least feel better. Like things were starting to look up in her life,
Right.
and obviously she had a memory gap right there, but I think she completely lost it, and I think she killed her mother in this
Blind fury.
rage or fury, yeah, well, whatever you want to call it, whatever happened. Obviously, she felt betrayed, I think, and I mean, she had been lied
Sure.
to by her own mother, and she had just realized how utterly terrible her mother was.
Mhm.
So, in the moment, yes, I think she did kill her mother.
Sure. And I don't blame you. And I think if Mizuha did kill her, I think that's evidence that maybe the knocker in her arm might have gone berserk in a way, and maybe that's why she can't remember.
Hmm.
Or it's your because she is holding the knife in her left hand, and it was her left hand that
True.
murdered. Or
That's
it's
true.
it went or it went down the way you described. But I kind of think it's gonna be a murder mystery, and
Oh, okay.
in a way that and maybe it won't be too prolonged, but I think that they will try to establish her innocence and find out who the real culprit was. And what makes me think that is the grandpa, maybe he getting a little too zealous in his own beliefs. Maybe he got caught up on that. I don't know
Oh
why he
my.
would frame. I don't know why he would frame his daughter in that way. So that's
Or
kind of a
or his
not his daughter,
granddaughter.
his granddaughter. Sorry, excuse me.
Right. Right, right.
That's kind of
But yeah. That would be that does feel a bit strange, especially since he wants her to become the 18th successor or the 18th leader of the Guardians.
right. So yeah, why would he frame her? Another thought I had was the dad, who is mysteriously gone to his sister's place.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that to me that just sounds like he's cheating.
Oh, oh no.
I mean, it's a stereotype. Yeah. Oh, I gotta go see my sister. You know. Um, but maybe that's not this kind of manga. So you know,
I mean,
I
who
should probably
knows?
I should probably give it the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
But I guess, and I guess there could be a third party. Obviously, the reason why I think that is because she's passed out, and I wonder if the Western Morning Glory, Western Morning Glory is going to play.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, is going to play a factor in this. Maybe that's why she's passed out. I don't know if someone slips it in a tea or it kind of pins it, kind of strikes her in the neck, kind of how Hayase has done in the past. But I think that's the reason why she'd be passed out. But then that doesn't explain the blood on her hand. I mean, obviously she would have had to been set up. That's my thinking. Now this is gonna be
right.
this is gonna be really hilarious if it turns out not to be the case and it totally was Mizuha.
No.
I'm just like pontificating about absolutely nothing.
I mean,
gosh.
I really like the fact that you and I have very drastically different thoughts on this. Whenever this happens, it's usually I think the most fun because and especially now when neither of us like we genuinely don't know, it'll be a lot of fun to find out what was the case here. I mean, maybe it's something that we like. Maybe somehow it's something that neither of us could think about. Who knows? But
it could potentially be. Just let me really quickly say that one of the reasons why I'm kind of like hesitant to say it had to be her is where do you go from the story from here? Like you can't just like have her be friends with everybody and hold hands. Like it's okay. You're a murderer, but you can still be part of the. She literally murdered someone. You can't. I mean, especially in today's modern society, she has to go to like juvenile jail. You know, I'm not exactly sure how that works in Japan, but in America, if you do something serious like that, you would go to juvie, shorten it.
Right.
Juvenile prison or whatever. And yeah, so it doesn't seem, unless they have her on the run or something, like she's got to, turn herself in or she has to face the consequences if she's the murderer.
Yeah.
And that, I don't know, that just seems to me that would seem kind of strange. Then again, if Mizuha's mom's body or Phi is still around, Fushi could create a body and then have her come back, but she still did kill a person. So that's
yeah, right. In that if that was the case, yeah. I don't know. Like to me, honestly, I guess I can't exactly explain why I feel this way, but I just pretty strongly feel like to me the most interesting. Like the way that this will be the most interesting is if it was her and if there wasn't really anything else interfering, like no Western Morning Glory, no knocker interfering, no other person at all, like just her and well the issues that she has mentally.
sure.
And nothing other than that is sort of what I both want it to be and at this point in time think it will be.
And honestly, that's definitely the more simple answer. And if that's the case, I think that she would go into a mental hospital or mental institute
Right.
/ if not that, a juvenile jail, prison or whatever it's called.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's definitely a strong possibility. I can't imagine her continuing on in this story unless she's either behind bars or behind glass.
I mean, yeah, that is a fair point.
I mean, she needs help. She clearly needs help,
Yes.
and I hope she gets that help.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't just walk around as a murderer thinking you're justified because, yeah, her mom was suffocating, but
Right. Yeah, I mean, for sure.
No, I didn't think about this. Maybe it was self-defense. I didn't think about that.
Oh yeah, we don't know exactly what the scene was. Yeah.
That's true.
Oh, that is a good point.
But why would
Man,
why would she be knocked out then in that case?
I mean, I guess it was just like the strain on her mind, or like just the trauma could have just made her faint, maybe, or something.
Maybe. Anyway, fun. I can't wait. I can't wait to see what happens.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude, I'm super excited. Yeah, really happy we had such different ideas on this. I'm really excited to go on with this now.
I'm ready to be wrong.
Yeah,
It's
dude,
okay.
me too, honestly. And I guess I will say, like, this is the last thing I'll say on this, is that if there is something other than herself being responsible for this, my only hope is that it's the potential knocker in her arm. Again, we don't even know if it's there, but and I would also say, if it is there, it's probably there in a very small way. Obviously,
Right.
it's not even visible or at all anything like that. But if it is something, it might have been like somehow an influence from that might have made her do it. And if that's proven to be the case, then I guess she can avoid punishment. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah. Good luck getting that through the court of law.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh! You had a little thing in your arm. Okay. Understandable. That happened to me last week. Like, it's not gonna work.
No, you're right. You're right. But I mean, I'll say at least, like, that's as far as I'm willing to go with my, I guess, predictions on this. Like,
Sure.
to stray away from it being only her. But anyway, she joined the occult research club during this book.
Yeah.
That's fun, and she said that she already has someone else that she likes when that boy was asking her out, and a little bit later she told Hanna that the person that she likes is in the same club as her. And now, unless it's one of the two, like the brains and the brawn, or the self-proclaimed brains and bronze, which they were very minor characters in this book at least. So I'm sort of ruling them out for now. That leaves Yuki and Hanna, both of which I feel are pretty good possibilities for this, based on what we see of her interactions with those two characters in this book. I feel like she takes some sort of interest in both of them in various ways. So, yeah, that's something I'm really interested to see, like, where that's going to lead.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask you, I mean, which do you think? Because it could go either way, and honestly, honestly, I don't know. Like, because there's some cases where, like, oh, maybe it is Hanna, but then there's other ways like, oh, maybe it's not Hanna. But I haven't seen anything that's like, oh, maybe it's Yuki, really. Like,
Actually, I felt like I sort of did see
Really?
See some signs. Yes, because even before, I'll say first of all that I am torn on it. I definitely feel like both are really, like, seem very possible. But the reason why I feel like it's possible for it to be Yuki is that even before, he did mention, he started to blabber on about Fushi, even though he shouldn't have in school, and which was funny, but and I don't think, I can't remember if Mizuha was there the first time he talked about it, but I think at least the second time he talked about it, and that was when he mentioned Fushi by name as well. Mizuha was around, and she sort of reacted to the name, and
yeah, she clinged to her arm.
Right, exactly, and it interested her. That was some sort of interest, but not necessarily in Yuki himself in that situation. It was more so about the things that he was talking about. But I felt like even before that, even before she had reason to, I guess, take interest in him because of him talking about Fushi and stuff, I felt like she took interest in him in some sense even before that. Like, she came to the club room or the classroom or something at one point, and Hanna was surprised, or Hanna, like, didn't really understand why, Like, why did you come to the classroom? I think it was just, or may have just been potentially to see Yuki for a bit, maybe.
But
Um,
it wasn't to see Hana.
or I mean, or it could have been to see Hana if that's because yeah, again, because I don't know. It could have been either really. But she was talking to
Mm-hmm.
Yuki and to Hana in that scene. I think she talked mostly to Yuki if I recall. Um, but yeah, I guess with that in mind, and especially since we saw instances like that even before Yuki started talking about Fushi, I feel like Yuki is a possibility, and
Well, definitely a
and then
possibility. Yeah.
right, and I think a good possibility. I think equally, at least in my mind, equally as good of a possibility as Hana is, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously I like or maybe even Hana is a bigger possibility because there were definitely more kind of well closer moments between Mizuha and Hana,
Right.
which actually yeah, I'm probably leaning more toward it being Hana.
I just don't know because I can't tell if this is just like big friendship moment or is this something we should be shipping right now? Like
Right,
I
right.
don't I can't say for sure. What I can say is, well I think Yuki is there as a potential you know love interest. Like we said, the potential is there. There
Mm,
wasn't a whole lot of interaction with him and Mizuha. Now, unless that's in their past, and we will see that in some sort of flashback, I just can't. I can't see it. I can't see it. It suddenly changing. At
I
least I
mean,
don't think.
right. I mean, at least he has a lot of interest in her.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, it would be funny if, or not funny. It would be sad if Mizuha does have feelings for Hana and like it creates this love triangle. Uh, that would be complicated and interesting, but yeah, I it's really hard to say at this point. But obviously, we're just one book into this part of the story. But
True.
I
True.
I'm really interested in seeing where this goes. And
Well, especially now that Fushi's here in Mizuha's life, does that even matter to her anymore?
exactly, there's that. Oh my God, there's 3 ships now to consider for Mizuha. Oh my God, yeah, yeah. Oh my God, oh my
Will
God.
you be my friend?
Oh no, oh dear.
Oh no. No, 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 no. No, no.
We know where this is going. Uh, but yeah, yeah. That is yeah. There's 3 potential ships for Mizuha now, or at least for the fans to drool all over. Uh, yeah.
I mean, I guess I drooled over Gugu and Reen. I guess I don't know. Like,
I mean, you should have. I know I did. She was able to understand that Fushi was Fushi, which was
oh,
I guess like just like seeing that mind or following along with her thought process
oh
on
yes,
that was interesting, because she understood that like no human could have made their way through that tiny window, and she was
right,
reading about Fushi in her grandfather's books and stuff like that. So
yeah.
I thought that was, I mean, not a super big thing, but for her to put that together was interesting, I thought.
No, no, I totally agree, and that was actually one thing I forgot to mention is it felt like she was slowly being pulled towards her ancestry and
Oh
to
yeah.
Fushi.
Mm, right.
Um, like that. She felt like she had something missing almost in her life, or it felt like she couldn't be the perfect thing. But now that she understood, well, after reading about her ancestry and the history of the Guardians and then Fushi,
Mm,
she obtained a goal. I want him. I want Fushi. I want to be perfect. That's how I'm going to attain perfection. Um,
yeah.
and yeah, it just gradually kind of went towards there. So
Mm,
it was really kind of fascinating to see, especially when in the beginning of the volume it didn't really feel like she had any sort of connection with that backstory.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Just kind of happened gradually.
Precisely. Yeah. That was absolutely definitely very interesting to follow along with. But I guess if there's nothing more on Mizuha, let's move on to Hana next. The president of the occult club, or the occult research club, I think it's
I
called.
think she. Wait, no. I'm confused because I wasn't sure what club they were. Aren't they in like the arts and like kind of arts and crafts club?
Well, I think well Mizuha referred to it as something along those lines. I think when she joined, didn't she?
Uh huh.
Because I did think about this.
Well, it was confusing to me.
Yeah, it was a little bit confusing to me as well, especially because there definitely was a part where Mizuha referred to it as something else, like something different than what it had when it had been referred
Something
to
about
previously. Okay, yeah,
crafting.
yeah. Here we go. So on page 88, I guess that's only in the physical books though. Uh, but Hana is thinking, and Mizuha likes one of these guys,
Uh huh.
and then the three male members of the club are introduced, and it says their name, it says their year, and then it says Occult Research Club, self-professed brains of the operations. That's for the tall guy, for example. And Yuki Aoki, first year, Occult Research Club, vice president.
Well, here's my thinking: is that Hana doesn't seem to care at all about the occult stuff, like at all.
Right.
And yet she's the president. So
Yeah.
I think it could be where she didn't have enough people to join her club. They didn't have enough people. Like maybe three wasn't enough. So
Ah.
they kind of made a bargain that okay, I'll be president of this club. You guys can do your occult stuff, but we got to. I want to keep this club going. Kind of a situation. I don't know
Could be.
why. Sounds like a very typical anime thing.
Right. Yeah. Very true. I mean, maybe. But yeah, regardless, she's the chief, and according to Mizuha, Hana loves fluffy stuff, apparently,
hmm
which I don't know if that's going to be important or at all, but I thought that was a funny little comment.
Okay, let me just some drop my theory here. Is that without a doubt, her face is gonna look like Perona. You take those glasses
Oh,
out, it'll be Perona. I mean, relationship wise, or ancestry, no. I mean, there's no way. But her face will just have the same facial features as Perona. And
that would be nice.
that's why you're hiding the glasses. And I feel like you can see it in some of the moments where you just barely see her eyes or whatever. I feel like you could see. Oh, that looks like Perona, in my opinion.
Right. I
Also, the
mean,
hair kind of does.
yeah, like the bangs a bit. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's a really interesting theory. Yeah, because you do see her eyes like slightly in some shots, like from the sides a little bit. Like it's
hmm
never a lot,
Right.
but yeah, that is really interesting. I could absolutely see that being the case. Yeah, and actually, she reminds me a little bit of Kobachi Osaragi from the Kaguya-sama Love is War manga.
yeah.
Not just in the sense that she has glasses that you can't see through that cover like
hmm
that can conceal her eyes, but also in the way that like she's silently observing things that happen around her in a similar way
Yeah.
that she does. Obviously, without going too much into detail and spoilers for Kaguya-sama, but it's part of her character in that I don't know. She reminded me of her in those ways.
For sure.
And like for example, like I really felt sort of her pain when she saw Mizuha, like Mizuha's mother treat Mizuha the way she did, like after they had
hmm
found Mizuha, and like the interaction that they had and how she observed that interaction. I felt like we sort of saw it from her perspective in a way, and I really felt the pain that I think she was feeling in that moment, and like how she saw Mizuha not being able to talk back to her mother and stuff like that.
Yeah. And I wonder if there was a scene where they were on the kind of on the ocean bank, I guess. They were
Yeah.
fishing. They were fishing,
Mm,
and
mm.
she sees this beautiful fish in the bucket, and she's like, it doesn't feel like it belongs in this bucket. And I wonder if that was kind of a metaphor or maybe comparison, whatever you want to call it, to Mizuha and her
Oh
situation,
yeah. Right.
and maybe because she was, I guess you could say, restricted by all the by her mother and a prisoner in that sense.
Uh huh.
Um, maybe she wants to set her free from the
Right.
situation. I don't think we'll ever fully understand because I do think that scene is a little strange.
I mean,
Um,
I didn't think too much of it, but I really like that interpretation of that. Like, it doesn't have to, you know, become anything more. But I really like
Right.
that, and I feel like you're probably right that the intention was to mirror Mizuha's struggles there.
Yeah.
Very nice. Anything more on Hana?
Nope.
All right, then let's move on to Yuki Aoki then, the vice president of the Occult Research Club, and yeah, as I said earlier, I think this guy is simping pretty hard for Mizuha. Uh,
Well, I actually don't think it's. Yeah, yeah. He kind of
I think he
definitely
is.
looks up to and he likes her, but I don't know. I don't know if I go far to say he's simping really hard. I think yeah, there's a bit of a simping, but
I mean, his introduction scene in the very beginning of the manga, he was like freaking out and like really super like ecstatic over having touched her hand. Like he brought her back the hair tie, and like he was like all like super excited over her having like gotten a smile from her, and he wanted to know her birthday and like all that stuff.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, at this point, I'm just like
I got that feeling anyway.
crossing or being a little too picky. So let's just move on.
Okay. Fair, fair. But yeah, like he's very invested in the mythology about Fushi, which was really fun to see. And like I thought it was clever, or it was smart of Oima to make one of these more prominent characters uh like this, because it kind
Hmm.
of that then she was able to sort of give us, or to teach us about what this current world is like,
Yeah.
through this character. I thought was really good. And obviously this makes him the perfect guy to find Fushi and to take Fushi in.
Hmm. I wondered if he could possibly be because remember how we were wondering if Poco made it to Yanome and that she wasn't there around Bone's deathbed,
Hmm.
and so I was like, oh, maybe she was just living in Yanome and that's where she died or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, so I wonder if Yuki could be one of her descendants, and
Yes.
now I don't know. There's a few things against that. One, you don't have the Peach Foundation. They haven't really acknowledged that they are descendants.
I mean, there could be like a lot of time has passed. We know
Right. No. Yeah. You're right.
Fuji was like 250 years old back in volume 12, and he's about 800 years old in this book. So
Yeah.
that's how many years? 550? That's a lot of like branches in family trees and stuff that could have happened over all of that time.
Sure.
So I don't think it, like I wouldn't expect the Tasty Peach Foundation to have kept track of every single one of Princess Poco's descendants necessarily.
Yeah. That's
You know.
fair. That's fair. Um, so I guess more power to that theory. But that's just one potential gear in that. But I think what really makes me think that besides just is will Poco's descendants play a part is that his sister
Hmm.
Aiko kind of has a Poco look to her face.
She absolutely, she like more than kind of, I would say.
Okay, well, I'm glad. I'm glad.
I think so.
No, I agree. I agree. I just sometimes when I put out these theories, I don't want to go too full hard on it, just in
Okay,
case
fair.
I'm wrong. But I do. Yeah, I think she has a Poco face,
Yeah, yeah.
and even Yuki in some moments, like when he gets serious, he kind of looks like Bone without when he's when he's
Ooh.
kind of regular Bone. Like there's a moment where the grandpa says, "Hey, you can't tell anybody about Fushi. That'd be bad." And he's like, "You're right. We can get the CIA and everything could be here. I'll make sure I don't tell anybody." And he has kind of a serious face. He's
Oh
not smiling or
yeah.
anything. It just kind of looks like Bone
I see what you mean.
after he's shaved and everything.
Right, right, for sure. And I mean, obviously, it was Aiko, and I guess we can talk about her as well here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really
It
have
was
much on her anyway.
we were already there. It was definitely she that made me think about this. Like, the moment I saw her face, I was like, "Oh my God, Poco! Like, is that Poco?" Like definitely, like very very clearly, like a very similarly drawn face. And so it was after that that I kept on thinking, along those lines, and it
Hmm.
went along very nicely with what we had talked about previously about her wanting to move to Yanome and find a man.
Mm-hmm.
Which was interesting because I mentioned that it was only put in the manga through like one of those bonus pages that was like a letter or a message from her to her family. That's where she mentioned that she wanted to move, like to go to Yanome after this was all over. It wasn't actually part of any of the chapters, but at this point, I feel it's pretty safe. Like it's pretty safe to assume that the Aoki family are descendants of her, and yeah, it's just interesting how that was only part of one of those bonus pages in the physical books.
Got to buy the physical books to get the whole story, apparently.
Apparently, yeah, and and also like I think Fushi, I mean because he took her form and introduced himself to Mizuha as Yuki's cousin,
Mm-hmm.
which I think also confirms that Fushi also sort of suspected that they were descendants of hers, because he could tell, or he could sort of tell at least, that Mizuha was a descendant of Hayase, or at least of, yeah, at least of Hayase, maybe even of Kahaku. He seemed to be able to pick up on that, and
Mm-hmm.
so I think it's very possible that he also may have picked up on the fact that the Aoki kids are descendants of Poco.
Yeah, there is
Because of that.
potential. Um, that said, Fushi is stupid, so he may not have picked up on that. Uh,
He, yeah,
Hayase is
I
a
guess
different case because you know how big that lineage has been in his life,
fair.
and you think, and maybe I hope we get the moment where he goes to Bone. It's like, Bone, these guys are your sister's descendants. Like, that'd be kind of cool, right?
Yeah, honestly.
So I maybe this was just kind of hinting at it, like Poco returned to the story in that way, and maybe Fushi just didn't realize. And to be honest, if he had said the father, he on his father's side, like a cousin on his father's side, I think it would have been more like, oh, okay, I could see it because I look at the father because we see
Yeah,
him talking to the father. He has kind of this
right?
poofy hair situation.
Exactly.
That kind of, oh,
Exactly.
that looks more like a bone, you know, a peach kind of a trait. Whereas the mom looked, I guess she had a little handkerchief thing over her head, but she looked more or less just regular Japanese.
Right. No, I absolutely
Or
agree.
Yanome, excuse me.
Right. Gotta get the words right. But like, no, I had the exact same thought that the dad definitely looked more Tasty Peach esque.
Mm-hmm.
The hair you said, and I felt like he sort of had the tortoise eyes, or I mean, I guess
Oh,
they're just squinty eyes. I guess I guess it's not super detailed, but maybe that was the intention. And because because I also took note of the fact that Fushi said on the mother's side, but that comment might just have been like a spur of the moment thing, and it might not have actually been accurate potentially.
yeah.
Because what does Fushi actually know?
Ah, so he could be taking a shot in the dark.
Exactly. I think so. Anyway, I definitely
Okay.
feel like Oima's intention, at least based on how the parents were designed, I definitely, as you, feel like the father is the one that the
Poco's blood runs through.
precisely, yes. Yeah, I feel pretty confident about that. I also thought Aiko had a pretty funny name, or like her first name and last name have the same exact letters, just, or at least in like our like Western letters, it's the same four letters just in a different order. Aiko Aoki.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny. And mad props to her for handling the whole communication with the Tasty Peach Foundation, like to
Yeah.
getting in touch with them and organizing that whole meetup at the airport. Like, yeah, really well done.
It's just funny how smoothly it all went with social media and everything.
Yeah.
Um, it makes you wonder, would it go that smoothly in our world? Maybe. I don't know. Like,
I mean, social media, it really is
yeah. No, you're right.
it's so big, or like, it feels honestly kind of realistic, or at least when it comes to that, I think.
It's really cool.
Very well. I think we are moving on to. We have pretty small characters left, I think, but Kazumitsu, the grandfather of Yuki and Aiko. Do you have anything on him?
I don't
Me
really.
neither. Then let's move on. Moving on to March then. The only thing I got really for her is that I felt really sorry for her, like, in the moment that she came back to life. How
Yeah.
alone and how terrified she looked.
Oh, poor thing.
Like the hollow, like the statues and like the it was so
Mm-hmm.
sad. Do you got anything on her specifically?
uh, I mean, she's just adorable cinnamon bun. You know,
Mm-hmm.
same old, same old.
Indeed, indeed. Then I guess a little bit on Gugu. We already touched on the fact that he saw a supposed descendant of his brother, which was like a really cool thing for him. I like the, like for like a first impression of the new world. I thought that was really cool. Hopefully, he got to have like a good conversation with that guy.
Yeah, I'm sure he
And
did.
yeah, and to see Boozman's house still standing with slight
Mm-hmm.
modifications, but still there, and he's actually wearing clothes on his upper body now, which
Dude,
I thought was really cool. Like he's never done that before.
he's looking fresh. Him and Bone are just like super fresh.
Right? I mean, yeah, Gugu looks absolutely dashing. Oh my god.
They got that drip, man. They know what's up.
Yes.
And he has a phone. He has a smartphone. He bought it before
Right.
coming with everybody. He bought it
Yeah.
talking to whatever it's
Takanaha, yeah, yeah.
talking to how. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
He's like, wow.
Yeah.
Gugu is up on
He's on
this.
top of it.
Yeah.
And let's see, what do we got on Tonari? Well, I really loved how Oima was sort of teasing that Tonari had come back as a kid this
Uh
time.
huh.
That was really fun. Like you see her little boot in the first panel, and
Mm-hmm.
then later on you see like her from behind, from a distance, sort of walking with two other people. I think.
Hey, little lady, where you going?
Yeah. And then like, even though I had already sort of understood that she would come back as a young kid at the point when she was fully revealed, it was still such an awesome reveal. Like turning that page
Yeah.
and she was standing there with a like 14-year-old body was I was so happy to see her that way. Like yes,
Fushi.
even though she was a little bit upset, but
Yeah. Well, understand. I mean, I understand. Especially her argument is like, I can't take in poison anymore. You know, I'm not immune to poison
yeah,
anymore.
right.
Um, but Fushi, you sly dog, man. Like, look. I know it was her dream, but all all I'm saying is, let the Fushi Tonari ship continue, baby.
Yes, please.
We're not dead yet.
Yes, I honestly would love for that to take more of a like
Let's
to become
go.
more of an important thing or a central thing in the story. I would love love
Yeah.
to see that.
Same.
Oh boy.
It does suck that she doesn't have the poison immunity, but Fushi does say, "Hey, we're not in that kind of world anymore." Although,
Right.
are you? I mean, I don't know. I guess you're not.
Can't know for sure.
Yeah, whatever. Either way, it's nice that she's able to come back to her younger self, and I mean, this is the Tonari we're, I guess, more comfortable. Not comfortable, just what
More
we were
used to.
introduced, more used to. I guess. Although I don't know, in consideration, like how many chapters have passed since.
Fair.
Yeah, but regardless,
Still, I feel like we probably seen more drawings of her young than old.
right. Yeah.
All in all.
So do you think? So if this Tonari Fushi ship is a thing,
Yeah.
do you think that they'll be a point where there's like 5 years have passed, and they're no longer like 14-year-old bodies, they're 19-year-old bodies or something like that?
Right.
Like, is that going to be a thing? Maybe not for a few more volumes. I don't know.
That would be pretty cool.
But
I
then
definitely.
Fushi would
I
not
mean,
be allowed to transform though at all.
right.
Right?
But if the world is as peaceful as he thinks, at least right now, then he wouldn't need to. So I guess we can.
But
hope
why?
for
But why
that.
wouldn't he? Why would he transform? Would he just be like, "Oh man, I got to get to a 19, so it's like acceptable." Like I don't know.
I mean, well, actually, he has lived up to like an old man age in the voice form, as we saw. Like at the beginning
Right.
of this book, he was like old as hell. So he should be. I think he'll be. I think he has the ability to to change his form within the boys' ages
Oh, really?
at
Okay.
will. Is my Because in volume 12 he did unlock that new power which was sort of vaguely described, but the beholder was narrating as Fushi can now create things as he sees them, or as he wants them
Right.
to be, sort of. And I think similarly, as he created Tonari as younger here, and that worked out, and like he was able to do that. I think that should also mean that he can change his own appearance as well to whatever age he has been in as the boy. I think.
Nice. Hey, I hope so.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really cool. I mean, not to say I don't like the 14-year-old boy, but it would be nice to see him as an adult, kind of living life besides the 40-year-old virgin on an island. You know.
Right, right. And I mean, speaking of like him and Tonari, like they are the age where like they both of them are roughly around Yuki's and Mizuha's and Hana's age.
Yeah, you're right.
Wouldn't it be awesome if they went to school with them?
I
I
you know
think
I didn't think about that until now.
that would be so much fun.
That would be interesting because Tonari's at the age, like, why not? Fushi
Yeah.
going to school, I mean, that'd be great, but you also got to wonder with his face being online, like, how long is that gonna last? I don't know. You don't know. It could be interesting.
Yeah. Honestly, I would really like that, I think.
Yeah, and they'll be in the same homeroom as a murderer. Oh wait, sorry. We don't know yet.
We don't know.
Or maybe we do. I don't know.
Yeah, could be really fun. But yes, moving on, I guess, to Bonshin.
I mean, look, like I said, he looks great in his outfit, and clearly he planned out with his family this Tasty Peach Foundation or organization, and he knew that we would be back again at some point. And
Right.
for his family to carry that on without knowing when he'd come back, but they carried it on. They were going to be ready whenever it
Yeah.
was. Man,
Right.
like, I'm so glad Bone. I'm so glad Bone is a thing. Like,
Right.
such
Yeah.
a great character, and
So great.
so convenient in that sense.
Yeah, yeah, like he definitely got in some trouble when he just got back into the world, but luckily the Tasty Peach Foundation was close by.
Mm-hmm.
And I love how the two agents that we saw from the Tasty Peach Foundation, they both had like a mini Bon hairstyle. It was
It
really
was pretty
funny.
great. It's part of the uniform,
Yeah, right, exactly.
the dress code, whatever you want to call it.
Exactly, yeah. That was really sweet.
I was really confused by Bone's sarcophagus or his casket, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It looked Egyptian, didn't it?
It did, yeah, definitely had that kind of feel.
But maybe other cultures have similar type of burial like that.
I mean, I
wouldn't be
guess
surprised.
in this world, I guess at least. I suppose there's
Yeah.
like minor differences
Sure.
here and there.
Yeah,
But yeah, that was funny.
it was.
And that he would spawn right there of all places.
in a museum, and he just like
Yeah.
breaks out of the glass.
Like both he and March spawned in museums.
Yeah, yeah.
Was funny. Anyone more on Bon?
No.
All right, then perhaps a little bit on Echo. The only thing I got on her was that I thought it was so heartwarming to see her playing on the playground with all the other
Yeah.
kids. Like it made me so
Feels
happy
good,
to see that.
man. Feels
Yes.
good.
Ah.
Now, does she get to go to school eventually?
Right, yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, like she wouldn't be in like
No,
the same age, I guess, as the others, but absolutely. I
Hopefully,
hope so.
hopefully elementary school. You know,
Right. Yeah, for sure, for sure.
because we thought
Only
she's like
is
what,
she-
9, right?
I mean, at least, yeah, I feel like she's around 9. I would guess at least, yeah. Moving on to, well, the only one out of the people that were resurrected that I got anything left on is Kai, and it's at the airport when when Fushi met everyone there. I'm pretty sure it was just he and Tonari were the only two that came in their old clothes, like from their old clothes from way back. Although I felt like Tonari, like with her clothes, she fit in pretty well.
Yeah.
But Kai coming there in his armor, like it did not fit in at all. Like he'd been in prison that whole time, or like for most of that time. So he hadn't had time to change at all. Or actually, I don't think he really ever changed out of it at all. Or I'm not sure exactly, but he seemed to really embrace his old clothing, I think.
Well, he's been in jail, so
Right.
probably hasn't had a time to change really.
Yeah, but I mean, even later on when they were like building the new house and stuff, I feel like he still had the old clothes that even then, I think.
I mean, give it a couple days. Like I think he'll
Fair.
get some. They'll get him some new clothes.
Yes. Yeah, I do hope so. I mean, because everyone else looked like great in their new modern outfits, and I'm sure he will as well.
Freaking Massar was just jumped right in, like, and a few interpretations of that.
Yep.
It didn't phase him at all. Supposedly, like wow,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. He's just like straight back into his regular lifestyle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you got anything else on any of the resurrected people?
I don't. No.
Gotcha. Then a little bit on the Beholder,
Hmm.
and I don't have much, but the one thing I do got is that he says that Fushi deserves a reward, and
Yeah.
after the hard work he did, and he deserves to celebrate. And to see the Beholder say stuff like that to Fushi was really, I thought that was really fun to see, really nice.
Yeah, like we were saying last discussion, it's progression in their relationship and how they seem to
Yeah,
be, uh, I don't know, warming up to each other more.
for sure,
And
absolutely.
it was kind of shocking to see a little bit of a smile from him,
Yeah.
as he left.
Hmm.
It's interesting that he would let him have this little break, give him time to celebrate. Um,
Yeah.
I wonder, is this well, first off, what will be the sign that he needs to get back to training, to become omnipotent? Like, what'll be
Right.
okay? Break time over. Like, what's the sign for that? Don't know.
That's a Yeah, right. Either some very serious threat would arrive, or maybe the beholder has some sort of like time limit in mind. Like after a while, he'll just go up like, yeah, dude, break time's over. Get back to work.
Get back to
Sort
work.
of.
Um,
Maybe.
or is this really just all part of the learning process? Becoming omnipotent. This little break is actually part of it. It's
Oh,
just being phrased as a break.
right. For
I don't
sure.
know.
Yeah. That's interesting too.
I mean, you would think he'd have this all planned. Well, maybe not all planned out, but he has an idea where it needs to go, and
Mm.
I suppose this could be part of that.
I mean, absolutely. I wouldn't put that past him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's all I
yeah.
got on him.
Gotcha. Then anything else on any other character? I'm done with the characters personally.
Yeah, nope. I don't got anything else.
Sweet. Then let's move on to just final bit of the discussion. Any final things on the volume or predictions and stuff like that. I guess I'll just kick it off by saying that I loved this volume as I said at the start, and I think what made it really awesome to me was sort of the twist that the book took at the very end.
Yeah.
With Mizuha's whole freak out and
Mm-hmm.
seeing her mother like that. Uh, because for the most part, this was a very peaceful and funny and wholesome volume. Obviously with
Yeah.
little bits here and there of Mizuha's struggles sprinkled in. Because it wasn't all rainbows and butterflies until the last chapter, but still, most of it was very optimistic and positive. But then her mother being murdered at the very end was such a strong turn. I thought that it really made this volume very special to me.
Yeah, I like that turn as well. Yeah, it's not all peaceful sunshine and rainbows. It's that you have tragedy like this, mental illnesses and
Hmm.
whatever else may be behind there.
Yeah.
And maybe this is something that will kind of help Fushi realize something that, well, maybe this world is not as peaceful as I thought. Maybe I'm not sure.
Right.
I mean, how do you combat mental illnesses like that? Um,
For sure.
it's a tall task to want world peace. in that sense. But either way, I agree. It was a great twist at the end, and I think if this part, if they continue on after season 2 of the anime,
Oh yeah.
that line I think will, you know, be my friend. That if that voice actor delivers, which I'm sure she will, whoever it is,
Uh-huh.
that could be like a very either memeable or impactful line. I think.
Oh,
I just
dude,
think it's
yeah.
so good.
Totally,
And
totally,
the
totally.
face she makes and just the timing of it and Fushi's reaction as well. It's just all so good.
Right.
It's creepy.
Yeah, like the whole imagery of her sitting there, like in the bushes,
Yeah.
all bloody, and with that expression. Yeah, yeah, it's it's so good and really iconic. And like obviously, like both of us, we just read this like a week ago, like immediately after we probably recorded last week's episode. But even though this is still pretty fresh for the both of us, I just feel like it's such an iconic panel. Already,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's an iconic one.
It's good. It's really good.
Really, really is.
Yeah. I mean, I've said most of or all of my predictions throughout the
Yeah.
discussion. I think this volume is a good way to start. I hope we get more of Yuki and a bit more of Hana as well. I mean, of
Mm.
course, we'll get some more Mizuha, I'm sure,
Yeah.
in some capacity. But I really do want to see more Yuki because at this point, he's to me he's just kind of there and he was able to get them together. But I don't really care too much about him. I think he's funny, but
Mm.
I want to you know really grow attached to that character.
Yeah, I agree completely, and I think we will. Really hope we will. There were a lot of characters in this book. You know, there wasn't like first of all we had like the huge ensemble of characters from the previous books all returned. So there were
Mm-hmm.
all of them plus several new characters like we had the three Aoki family members plus Mizuha, her grandfather, her mother, Hanna. Like there were plenty of new characters introduced. More, I feel like than there usually are, or especially considering how many characters there already were that we knew from previous volumes that were also in this one. So,
Mm.
I guess with that, it was hard to get everyone to shine and to get attached to all of them as much. But I thought Mizuha and Hana absolutely, especially Mizuha, but also a lot to a big extent Hana as well, were like new characters that I really appreciated in this book.
Yeah, I do want a little more from Hana as well, but I agree that
True.
those two had more of a story or more interesting in this story overall or in this volume overall. But Mizuha
Right.
just so interesting and tragic
Yes.
in that way, and
Uh-huh.
definitely
Yeah.
excited to see where she goes from there.
Absolutely. Like I feel like this was definitely her volume mostly.
Uh huh.
I think. But yeah, yeah, super stoked to see everyone again and see where their stories go. And yeah, like I don't really have any like immediate speculations and predictions either left, but one thing that I like a far out prediction sort of that I
Okay.
thought of is that like well let's say we stay in the present day for a while now, like a couple of volumes, maybe another 12 volumes as the previous part was. Although I don't know, it doesn't matter though. But like we like for this part two, as I think it's called, of the story. I'm guessing it will be set in the present day. Maybe it will be the final part of the story. Maybe it will end here. But what if we move on beyond present day after this for like a part three being set in the future? That would
Yeah.
be like such a cool thing. We already said like I think you pointed out recently that it's such a unique thing. Like last week, such a unique thing for a story to span over this long a period of time, starting in like medieval settings and moving into a modern age era. It would be and then adding on top of that the possibility of moving into like the future, like with like maybe
Mm-hmm.
like science fiction elements and stuff like that. That would be so wacky, and I think it would make it even more unique than it already is. Obviously, that's way down the line at this point, but I think a part three set in the future could be maybe a super cool way to sort of end the story, perhaps.
Yeah. Potentially, and and having it more set in the future, I that definitely came to my mind while reading last volume, and I thought, oh, yeah, that could be an interesting prospect, and maybe it happens still in part 2, and it doesn't necessarily need a part 3. It's just
Fair.
that's just how she breaks it up, or maybe it is a part 3. Either way, it would be so cool to have it set in the future, because as we were saying, it being unique that we're going from the past to the modern day, we don't really have too many anime that or yet nowadays too many stories that talk about futuristic, like future world. Like back in the 70s, 80s, and I guess even the 60s, there was all sorts of futuristic type like stories. I felt like
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And even in anime with Gundam, like obviously that was a whole genre all set far into the future. So I'm not saying they're gonna have giant robots in space, but
Right. No, but unless.
No, it would be cool to see Oima's take on a futuristic world.
Dude, yeah, I would love that, seriously. But yes, but like again, it's like way down the line, and I guess for now, I'm just really appreciating what we got in the present day setting right here.
Sure.
But still, really interesting to think about, and I just couldn't help but bring it up, I guess.
So I have one last thing that I just remembered. It'll be really quick, but it was something that Yuki says when he's talking about towards the very beginning of the volume, the legends of Fushi and his disciples, and he says he has 11 disciples or whatever. And I mentioned this in my chat with you, or in our Discord with Petter, and I was just saying how that comparison reminds me of Christ and his followers. He had 12 disciples, but one of them betrayed him, Judas, and ended up killing himself because he felt guilty for betraying Jesus. And then you compare that to Fushi. Now they say he has 11 disciples, but if you count Kahaku, you could say that's 12. And Kahaku.
But isn't Kahaku counted as one of the 11?
I don't think so, because I counted them. If you include the animals, you get 11.
Or do you count Ligard then as well?
Yeah.
Okay, right. Okay, yeah, fair.
So anyway, but this is just me thinking and seeing. Oh, maybe there's that kind of comparison there. And so anyway, Kahaku being the 12th, inadvertently and not willingly betrayed Fushi, and eventually killed himself to I guess atone for that. So there could be that comparison. Now,
for sure,
Buddha had the 10 great disciples as well. So maybe there's a comparison there, or maybe it's just Oima's making a kind of commentary on some religions having similar aspects where you have a teacher and then the followers. So it could be that as well. Anyway, just something I wanted to just lightly point out and just say, hey, maybe that she took some inspiration from one of these sources.
For sure, yeah. I think it's really fun because religion has become a pretty central thing in the story in general, I feel, and it's really fun to see sort of how and where from she draws the inspiration and how she enjoys to, I guess, reference various real world things. That's a lot of fun.
Indeed.
But I guess that is it for this week.
Yep.
All right, then if you enjoy our content, you can follow us on Twitter at Umami Manga, and it would be lovely if you'd like to support us by either rating our shows on the podcast platforms or subscribing to our channel Umami Manga on YouTube. If you like this episode, please share it around with anyone you think might enjoy it too. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time when we'll talk about Volume 14. Bye-bye!
Please be my friend. See you later!